Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Al, and this week we get yet another update for the future upcoming patch of 10.15 over on the public testing realms. While not a massive update, it will focus on revamping a handful of our favorite classes, from new gameplay changes coming to the healing Holy Paladin, an update to balance druids which should provide them with additional talent choices, even changes to the piety spec of Outlaw to help him harness the dice of fate. And even more development work is being done before we get our hands on the third spec of the Draconic Evoker. In today's video, I wanted to go over some of the most recent changes that arrived today over on the PTR, and the class progress so far in the 10.15. But right before that, most of you guys watching these videos are still not subscribed. However, the more of you are mine, the more of you do, so let's keep it going. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell if you're watching these videos anyway, especially if you want to get more regular content regarding all of the newest Dragonflight updates and changes going forward. First, we have new global changes coming to the patch 10.15, specifically focused around DPS hybrid healing. Certain hybrid DPS classes, such as Shamans, Druids, and Shadow Priests, have select cooldowns which allow a portion of their damage to be converted into group-wide healing. Whether it is the Druid's Nature Vigil, Shaman's Ancestral Guidance, or the Priest's Vampiric Embrace, all of these cooldowns are highly effective and often replace the need for a healer, although temporarily. In this next upcoming update, all of these cooldowns will have new limitations, either with a shorter duration or a limited number of spells which can be converted into group-wide healing in order to reduce the minimalization of healers in group and game content. Next, I want to go over the most recent changes and development behind the newest upcoming Evoker playstyle, the spec of Augmentation. This unique playstyle is a DPS support archetype, focused on empowering allies through Ebon Might, which increases group-wide damage at the cost of Augmenter's personal output. Augmenter's role is to support their allies through combat buffs, temporary empowerments, and group damage amplifications, as well as unique defensive skills, which improves the ability for tanks, healers, and DPS classes to execute their roles more efficiently. To make Evokers even more focused on supporting their allies, a new talent has been added into the talent tree called Dream of Spring. The base Augmenter playstyle revolves around buffing allies with Ebon Might, followed by combat abilities like Eruption and Empowerment spells to maintain the buff's duration. Dream of Spring allows Augmenters to assume a temporary healing role, where using Emerald Blossom becomes more effective. Its cooldown is removed, and instead it now costs 3 essence with every use. Its healing is also increased, and every blossom will also prolong the duration of Ebon Might. This new talent could be highly effective during moments where group-wide healing is required, while also allowing Augmenters to better support their allies. This week we also saw the Augmenter Evoker tier set, which passively improves their group-wide contribution, with the 2 set increasing your empowerment spell effectiveness by 30% while the buff of Ebon Might is active, while the 4 set causes Ebon Might to grant additional primary stat for each nearby ally. This week, the spec of Balance Druid is going through a few changes, which will hopefully help expand their talent build variety. This means that certain talents which make up their strongest and the most popular build are being reduced in value, but the spec itself is being tuned upwards in order to make up the difference. In return, underutilized talent options are being bolstered to allow for more build variety. This means the old guard of Astral Smolder dot duration sees a decrease, with its duration cut down by half, which will impede Balance Druid's ability to maintain Waning Twilight, which is increased by 10%. This allows Mushrooms as well as the ability of Stellar Flare to become a little bit more competitive when focusing on a dot management playstyle. The talent of Wild Surges also loses some crit value in order to make room for Stellar Flare to become more competitive. In return, we see buffs to Warrior of Alune, which begins its cooldown instantly upon activation. A buff to Umbral Intensity, which improves the damage of Wrath by 20%, and the cleave damage of Starfire by 15% per point invested. And the talent of Lunar Shrapnel has also been redesigned to simply grant Starfall 20% additional damage, making it far more consistent. The power of Fury of Alone is being brought down by 10%, with Radiant Moonlight cooldown reduction for Fury decreased down to 15 seconds. But the damage of the moons has been increased, with the new moon buffed by 100%, half moon by 45%, and full moon by 15%. Next we have the spec of Holy Paladin, which sees numerous changes in the patch 10.1.5. One of the biggest changes is the adoption of the Glimmer of Light playstyle, which has become a cornerstone of most competitive Paladin builds. The other is the return of the Legion Holy Paladin with Beacon of the Lightbringer. Paladin's mastery forces them to stick close to their allies, which allows their healing effects to become more effective. Beacon of the Lightbringer causes your beacon target, usually the tank, to function similarly to the Paladin mastery, where targets closest to the beacon gain additional healing. This in turn allows Paladins, technically, to heal from greater range. Keep in mind you are still marked in the game as a melee healer, and will be subject to most melee mechanics. But in certain scenarios, like dungeons and PvP, this can offer you far better safety and strategic placement when it comes to enemy abilities and combat mechanics, and gives more credence to an underused caster Paladin playstyle. Besides these changes, we've also seen numerous updates to certain Paladin talent choices. First tier's Deliverance, which is highly undervalued, will now provide additional healing for Holy Shock. Holy Shocks will also help extend the duration of Deliverance by 2.5 seconds with every cast. Infusion of Light passive has been adjusted, causing Flash of Lights to cost 70% less mana, and causing Holy Lights to generate 2 Holy Power, which provides your casted spells some more additional value. Fans of the combat Paladin builds will be happy to hear that Shield of the Righteous has gained 30% additional damage, and each cast helps reduce the cooldown of Crusader Strike by 2 seconds. Though Shield Slams are no longer off the global cooldown and no longer grant passive armor. Shield of the Righteous can now be further buffed to facilitate even more combat healing, and its ability to shorten the cooldown of Crusader Strike makes Crusader builds even more consistent. Between Crusader Strikes, Holy Shocks, Hammer of the Righteous, and now Judgment included, generating Holy Power as a combat Paladin is a lot more efficient and has a smoother overall gameplay flow. Finally, the spec of Outlaw Rogue has seen new changes regarding their self-buff focused gameplay. The ability of Roll the Bones provides a random assortment of combat enhancements, from bonus energy regeneration, bonus critical strike chance, bonus resource generation like combo points, as well as cooldown reduction. One of its weaker buffs, however, called Grand Melee, has been redesigned. This new version of this buff empowers your Blade Flurry cleave damage, causing it to be 10% more effective. Additionally, Blade Flurry will now also work against your primary target, which allows you to add that cleave damage onto your primary enemy. Additionally, Blade Flurry's effectiveness can be further increased through talents which amplify its value against smaller group sizes, and if I understand this change correctly, could further translate into a more powerful single target output when landing on the buff of Grand Melee. Recently, Outlaw Rogues have been proven to be a sink or swim solely on the buffs given by Roll the Bones, so seeing some of the lesser used buffs improved with this update helps the playstyle combat some of its RNG elements. But that's going to be all of the newest updates so far over for the patch 10.1.5. And with no release date in sight just yet, we'll likely continue to see even more class development going forward. I want to thank all of you so much for watching this video and hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you excited about the newest spec coming to the class of the Evoker? And are you potentially interested in checking out the newest changes coming to Rogues, Paladins, Boomies, and more? As per usual, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, in the description of every single video and live stream, we have a link to our Discord community channel. Probably the best place to reach out to me directly in case you want to let me know what you thought about this video or hang out with the rest of the community to discuss some of the upcoming changes. Join our Discord to become part of the community. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.